I swiped right. His profile was perfect. Charming smile, dark eyes, and a bio that made me laugh. Let's skip the awkward small talk and just get drinks. Seemed like a man who knew what he wanted. We matched instantly. The conversation was effortless. He was witty, engaging, no red flags, just the kind of guy I'd been hoping to meet. We agreed to meet at a dimly lit bar downtown. When I walked in, he was already there, waiting with a drink for me. In person, he was even more attractive. Something about the way he looked at me made my stomach flutter. The drinks kept coming. The conversation flowed. His hand brushed mine more than once, sending shivers up my spine. "Want to come back to my place?" he asked casually, his lips curled into a knowing smile. I hesitated, but only for a moment. He was charming, and I wanted this. His apartment was sleek, modern, the kind of place that suggested money, but not in an obnoxious way. He poured me a glass of wine, told me to make myself comfortable. "I'll be right back," he said, disappearing down the hall. I took a sip of my wine and glanced around. That's when I noticed it, the door at the end of the hallway, slightly ajar. Curiosity got the best of me. I stepped toward it, my heartbeat quickening. The air felt heavier the closer I got. I nudged the door open wider. The smell hit me first, coppery, thick, cloying. My breath caught in my throat. Bodies, 3 of them, lined up against the wall, motionless. Their skin was pale, eyes open but empty. Their mouths were frozen in silent screams. I stumbled back, a choked gasp escaping my lips. My stomach twisted, the room spun, footsteps behind me. "You weren't supposed to see that." His voice was different now, flat, devoid of warmth. I turned slowly. He stood in the doorway, head tilted, eyes darker than before. The smile was gone. "Run." But my legs wouldn't move. He took a step closer. "I really liked you," he murmured. "That's why I wanted you to stay longer." He reached behind him, the glint of metal in his hand. I bolted. My feet barely touched the floor as I sprinted for the door, lungs burning. My fingers fumbled at the lock. It wouldn't turn. Behind me, his footsteps were steady, unhurried, like he was enjoying this. "Please," I gasped, yanking at the handle. "Please let me go." Silence, then a chuckle, low, amused. I turned just as he lunged. The world blurred. My body hit the floor hard. Pain exploded through my ribs. His weight pressed down on me, the cold blade against my throat. I choked back a sob. His face hovered inches from mine. His breath was warm against my skin. "You almost made it." The last thing I saw was his smile returning, wide and hungry. But I woke up, gasping, screaming. I wasn't dead. I was in a dark room. My wrists were bound. My head pounded. Where was I? Panic surged through me. My mind reeled. My breathing was shallow. The scent of iron lingered in the air, a soft hum, footsteps. He was here. "Good morning," he cooed, crouching next to me. I didn't want to end things too quickly. I jerked back, but there was nowhere to go. My body trembled. "I've been looking for someone like you," he mused, brushing a lock of hair from my face. "Someone special." Tears welled in my eyes. I shook my head violently. "Please, just let me go." His gaze darkened. "That's the problem. You all beg. You all cry." He stood, pacing the room. I forced myself to scan my surroundings. A basement, concrete walls, a single flickering light bulb, a workbench against the far wall, tools, a knife, a saw. Bile rose in my throat. My wrists strained against the rope. I twisted, pulling thus, ignoring the burn of the fibers cutting into my skin. He turned suddenly. "You're different, I can tell." I froze, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. "You want to fight?" His smile widened. "Good. I like it when they fight." I had to get out. Now. My eyes darted to the knife on the workbench. If I could just... He lunged toward me, but I was ready. I kicked out, striking his knee. He stumbled back, surprised. That was all I needed. I grabbed the chair I was tied to and threw my weight to the side. It shattered on impact. Pain exploded through my shoulder, but I ignored it. Scrambling to my feet, I sprinted toward the workbench, fingers closing around the knife. I spun just as he reached for me, slashing wildly. A gurgled scream. His hands flew to his throat. Blood seeped between his fingers. He staggered. I didn't wait. I ran. Up the stairs, out the door, into the night. The cold air burned my lungs as I screamed for help. Headlights. A car screeched to a stop. Arms wrapped around me. A voice, urgent, comforting. I collapsed. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed, safe, but I still see his face, still hear his voice, and I know he wasn't the only one out there.